the main series of Final Fantasy, which counts the MMOs as they have the appropriate title in their name, Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV. Note, I am excluding games like Final Fantasy X-2 and 13-2 and 13-3 because they're sequels to the series and they have and remain the numeral in their name. So I'm going to exclude those. We're talking about the other spin-offs. So let's get to it.
Sephiroth! It ends here. Go back to sleep.
Final Fantasy Dissidia, I hope I'm saying that right. Well, having a Final Fantasy fighting game seemed obvious for years. Very few were actually successful at doing it. Then came along this series, which has 2 titles so far in its name, and both seem to be perfect fan service for the Final Fantasy world. While I personally think it's a bit limited because of the system they're on and the story is just completely dumb, they're still undeniably fun to watch and play for short bursts, and it's a perfect fan service game. Is definitely Crystal Chronicles. Something of a hybrid of a more kid-friendly look, Final Fantasy type world mixed with the exploring and collecting of many rogue type games. Crystal Chronicles may not have looked like the newer Final Fantasies upon its release, but it stood out as a very fun co-op experience if you actually had anyone to play.
Visual! Kill them!
Final Fantasy Type 0. This one's kind of a recent one, but deserves a spot on here. Being a darker take on the series, Type 0 tells a wicked story of war and how it affects people. Take Class 0 and travel through a gritty version of Final Fantasy and learn to survive and conquer while not losing your sanity. Type 0 has some of the most fun gameplay in the series and an interesting design only held back by the old hardware issues.
Hold there!
Is it truly him?
Coming in at number 2 is Final Fantasy Tactics. Before there was Type 0, this was about as dark as a Final Fantasy game got. On top of that, the brutal difficulty either left newbies crying or hardcore fans eating this one up. It was a unique game and it had a less than stellar spin-offs for Game Boy Advance, but as this game, it did a lot for strategy RPG genre and it's considered one of the best ever. Number 1 is definitely Final Fantasy Crisis Core for me. It's a fan favorite Zack game and he finally has his own. With a unique card type battle system, amazing graphics for a handheld, lengthy adventure and a solid story, and a heartbreaking ending, we got to see a prequel that could make us relive some of the best moments from the best game of all time. Everybody bow to Final Fantasy VII. I'm just joking. It's not even my favorite Final Fantasy, but I love it. I enjoyed every moment, though, of Final Fantasy Crisis Core, and I still hope that one day we get a remaster version of it with a better camera. That's my top 5 for Final Fantasy spin-offs. Now remember, I excluded X2 and 13-2 and 13-3. But please, guys, list your games below of what you think are the best spin-offs of all time for the Final Fantasy series. And let's hope that Final Fantasy 15 is as good as the demo was, because that was pretty boss. Everyone have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like it, thumbs up, whatever it is these days. And please list yours below, because I would love to see if I missed any spin-offs that I totally played and totally forgot.